Why did Billy get fired from the banana factory? He kept throwing away the bent ones. I think that's my best one yet. I don't know. That could be the best one. Oh, and by the way, I've got a bone to pick with anyone who's not Scottish. I can say purple burglar alarm perfectly fine. It's a misconception. And the drunk Scottish guy in the video that made it popular is a fucking idiot. He is a dope. Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a video that surfaced on the internet a few years ago where a drunk Scottish person is surrounded by a bunch of non-Scottish friends, particularly English, and they're all trying to get him to say purple burglar alarm. And because they think because he's Scottish, he can't say it properly. And the video is basically him going, purple burglar alarm, like a fucking moron, making all Scottish people look like idiots. So hear me tell you that purple burglar alarm is perfectly easy to say, and he's just an idiot. Guess what? I'm baldy. I've been baldy for about a month now, almost, and it's quite new to me. I've actually had hair most of my life, probably about 90% of my entire life I've had hair. And since the age of 16, I've always tried to style it with hair gel and other crap. I've only really shaved my head twice or 3 times, but just let it grow back. This is the first time I've went completely bald and kept it that way since I've started shaving it myself at least twice a week. I've already ran into challenges with maintaining the cue ball. The first one is like avoiding cuts and spots. I've had this bump on my head that I've had since I was about, I want to say 20, 21. And I got this bump after I hit my head off of the edge of a ladder which was attached to the bunk bed that I was lying on at the time. And I never really paid much attention to it since, because I had hair the whole time, so it was out of sight and out of mind. But I knew the bump was there, because I could feel it, but I never thought about it until now. It's very visible, at least up close, and with that comes the inevitable. So every time I shave my head, knowing the bump is there, I've still got to shave it because hair grows there, but I'll shave it and that bump will inevitably get nicked, and as a result it gets cut and it bleeds. I mean, if it's any consolation, I think I've knocked it down a millimetre, but the bleeding issue is still there. And another issue I never even thought about is the potential of getting sunburn. Since going bald, I started putting sun cream on my head before going out for a sunny day. And this couldn't be more typical. The back, so the head's protected. The head's fine. But the back of my neck is currently sunburnt. I put way too much focus on my head, I forgot about my neck. So I'm walking around a complete itchy disaster right now. Like, I'm still getting used to just not having any hair around here. But I'll tell you what though, I've never felt so relieved to wake up and not have to worry about doing anything related to managing hair. No more spending 10 minutes at the mirror, applying hair gel, worrying about bald spots and cow licks. It's liberating to be baldy. So if your hair is receding and you're in denial, embrace the baldness. It's, like I said, very liberating. So what else have I been doing lately? I bought a couple of HDMI cables off of Amazon, and they're HDMI 2.1 cables, and apparently that means they're capable of obtaining a resolution of up to 8K, and also allowing 4K 120Hz and all that technical jargon. It's basically future-proof. I got them primarily to avoid the HDCP becoming a nuisance for whenever I decide to buy the PS5, since the PS4 was an absolute bell end with it before. Now, if you don't know what HDCP is, I'll give a quick rundown on what it actually is. HDCP is like a digital protection thing, and it stands for High Bandwidth Digital Content Protection. And what it basically does is it stops you from recording things from the screen to another source illegally. At least it's a type of piracy prevention, I think. And as a result, I wasn't able to record things. For example, the PS3 is a good example. I used to try and record things when playing. When I'm playing games and I'm recording them, I use a capture card to do so. And doing that on the PS3 is very difficult to do because HDCP is applied there and the cable doesn't work as a result. And the PS4 was almost the same problem. I wasn't allowed to watch YouTube videos, for example, on some TVs that I had due to the HDCP crap. But it became less of an issue now that I've gotten this TV, but at the same time, I don't want it to become an issue by the time I get a PS5. So what I've done is I've gone and bought this HDMI 2.1 cable to avoid, basically to avoid handshake problems between the cable, the console, and the TV. So there was no issues there. So that was one of the major reasons I bought it. And I suppose as a result, now that I have one, whenever I decide to get an Xbox Series X, whenever that may be, I'll actually be able to play some games at 120 Hz because these cables allow that. Because not only does the cable allow that, but my TV is 120 Hz compatible. But I reckon the latest HDMI version would alleviate all the problems that I had. I could be naive with this, but it's better to have the latest version and not need it than to need it and not have it. It also has more bandwidth as well, so it could probably do HDR a lot better as well. I think I'm talking shite. So I've plugged the cables in anyway, and for some reason I expected something to be different. I don't know why. I'm an idiot, I know. This is a stupid fucking topic. I'm moving on. If this is your first time here, welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. This is episode 12 for the 7th of June 2021. I'm Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. And we've got a few things that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about God of War. I'm going to talk about Electronic Arts briefly. But the biggest topic for today is regarding E3. And I have a few predictions that I would like to talk about on this episode. And of course, I'm going to talk about other things as well, like what games I've been playing, what games I'm planning on playing. But in regards to the rumours, I'm not going to talk about anything. I'm not going to talk about everything. I'm not going to cover everything regarding E3. I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that I'm interested in talking about. I can't sit here and regurgitate everything about everything. This is not a news channel. This is not a news podcast. So please do not go into this podcast expecting news reports. I am not here to give that. I'm just here to give my own personal opinions, my own ideas, my own opinions, my own rumours or expectations or predictions regarding E3. So if I miss anything, do not expect me to go back and cover it, because if I'm not interested, I probably won't talk about it. Anyway. But if there's anything specific that you want to hear me talking about, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it in the timestamps on the description of this podcast episode. But without further ado, let's get on with the episode. The first thing I'm going to talk about is Electronic Arts, specifically Electronic Arts delisting old Need for Speed games from all digital storefronts. Why are they doing this? I have no earthly clue. I don't know the rigmarole on what cost benefits or like cost effectiveness or anything like that it would be for EA to take these games down. I don't know if it's costing them money to keep these games up, if the return isn't as high as they were expecting. I don't know how it works. Nevertheless, EA getting rid of old games is clear and cut proof that, like, I don't think digital is the future. Not yet. Because there's a lot of things happening within digital buying in general that is gross. That is stopping people from... Like, it's crazy. I don't mind buying digital games at the minute, but I like to have the option to still be able to get games physically. And this is one of those reasons why I will always go back to preferring physical games first and foremost over digital. I like the option to buy digital so long as I've got the option to get it physical as well. And so long as I am guaranteed to always have the option to go back and play my games digitally and have them not locked away from me. So far, I don't think I've seen anything along the lines of my owned games being taken away from me. I haven't really seen that yet. But in regards to having the option to buy things digitally being taken away, I don't understand that. I don't know what EA are getting out of this. What benefit is it to them to remove these games from digital storefronts? I don't understand, personally. But I'm going to go on to an article that briefly explains it. This was on Eurogamer.net, and this was published on the 1st of June 2021. It says, EA has pulled 5 Need for Speed games from sale ahead of an August shutdown of online services. On the 31st of May, EA announced the removal of Need for Speed Carbon, Need for Speed Undercover, Need for Speed Shift, Shift 2 Unleashed, and Need for Speed The Run from digital storefronts. In-game stores have also closed. EA said this move, which was announced and implemented on the same day, is in preparation for the retirement of online services for these games, which is set for the 31st of August. Until then, you can still play and race your friends online, but from the 1st of September onwards, you can play offline only. Decisions to retire games are never made easy, but we are now shifting gears to focus on the future of Need for Speed. The development teams and operational staff have put a lot of time and passion into the development, creation, release and upkeep of the game over the years, and we love to see you play. But the numbers of players has come to a point where it's no longer feasible to continue the work behind the scenes required to keep Need for Speed Carbon, Undercover, Shift and Shift 2 Unleashed and Need for Speed The Run up and running. We hope you have gotten many victories, satisfying drifts, moments of friendly rivalry and hours of joy over the last few years out of these games. Need for Speed games still on sale and online include Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012, Need for Speed Rivals, Need for Speed 2015, Need for Speed Payback, Need for Speed Heat and Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. While the 5 Need for Speed games that are set for the scrap heap are on the old side, their termination highlights the video game industry's ongoing struggle with preservation. In this case, fans were quick to express their disappointment that EA did not provide them with a heads up that these Need for Speed games were being pulled from sale. One Reddit user said, he said, I'll happily pass on the message that a heads up about the delisting in stores is appreciated for any potential future cases, which was said by EA's Need for Speed community manager Max Myris said in response on Reddit. That was a bit muddled up there at the end. But, okay, yeah, I suppose they're sitting there saying, like, we should have been told ahead of time. I think you being told before it shuts down on the 1st of September, isn't that enough? But at the same time, though, I can see where the frustration lies with regards to preservation. As I said, digital can't be the future, not yet. It can't be, because we can't live in a time where having a game digitally means there is no guarantee you will keep this, or like having a game available to buy. It's this forced scarcity that I don't agree with. I know, like, Nintendo do this with a fucking badge of honour, and I hate it, where they made the 35th, I think it was the 35th anniversary of Mario, a scarce thing, where it's like you're forcing scarcity on games that are already expensive in enough of themselves. You know, I mean, I don't know, and I don't understand why Nintendo have to be so proud of their products to a point where it's difficult to get them at a reasonable price. And it doesn't help when Nintendo do the thing where they make things scarce or limited, because then you're just up in the... I don't know if this is a strategy behind Nintendo where they know people will buy this and they will pay hundreds of cash for it, therefore making Nintendo richer, but the frequency of these sales are surely not as high as they could be if they were a reasonable price. But I digress. This whole thing with EA taking games from the Need for Speed series off of shelves and being really fucking proud of the way their games are right now is a testament to where EA is in regards to being a business. Because they're looking at this from a monetary perspective, and it's clearly obvious. Because Need for Speed Payback, Need for Speed whatever, not so much Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered, but future games, I would say, new games, are going to be aiming towards the likes of Need for Speed Payback, where you basically have to pay to win. At least that's what it looks like from my perspective, where you will never get far in that game unless you put money towards it. And I suppose people will argue, oh, but you can still play the game and progress without without spending a penny. Yes, you could do that, but it's a lot quicker if you just put money towards it, because I reckon games like this are made in such a way where it's deliberately put in to be a grind, a la Star Wars Battlefront 2. But I'm not going to say too much about Need for Speed or Need for Speed Payback because I haven't played them, so I do not have an opinion. But the principle is, the digital future is not looking good. And that's my take on it. Anyway, God of War 2, God of War Ragnarok, the sequel to the 2018 game God of War, the soft reboot that was on PS4, the sequel is getting delayed until 2022. And are we really surprised? Are we? Because I'm not. We haven't really heard much about it. I think it would be a bit daft for them to just come out and say, yep, we're still making the game, it's coming out in a few months. Out of nowhere. Can't see it. I'm not surprised. Not surprised. But this was taken from Polygon on June the 2nd. It says, Sony's next God of War game, originally slated for a 2021 release on PS5, has been pushed to 2022. PlayStation Studios head Herman Hulst and developer Santa Monica Studio confirmed the delay on Wednesday. Hulst, in an interview posted on the PlayStation blog, said the sequel to 2018's God of War was pushed out to give Santa Monica Studio more time to develop the title. So we have currently two very big, very narrative-driven games in development, Horizon Forbidden West and the next God of War. And for both of those, they're frankly affected by access to performance capture and talent, Hulst explained. For Horizon, we think we are on track to release this holiday season, but that isn't quite certain yet, and we're working as hard as we can to confirm that to you as soon as we can. And for God of War, the project started a little later, so we've made the decision to push the game out to next year to ensure that Santa Monica Studio can deliver the amazing God of War game that we all want to play. And Santa Monica Studio wrote on Twitter that says, since the release of the next God of War teaser last year, we've been humbled by the amount of love our community has shown us. We are incredibly grateful to see so many people excited to experience the next chapter of Kratos and Atreus' journey. We remain focused on delivering a top quality game while maintaining the safety and well-being of our team creative partners and families. With this in mind, we've made the decision to shift our release window to 2022. Thanks to all your continued support, or for your continued support, we've got some exciting things in the works that we cannot wait to show you. Yeah, it's quite interesting, really. I did not expect it to come out this year. I really didn't, because it's all, I don't know, it's nobody did, really. Because we are in the middle of 2021. There's no way in a million years they're just going to come out and say, here it is. It's coming out in fucking November or whatever. That's way too soon. It was obvious at this point that it was going to be delayed. I'm not surprised. But also, shockingly, what we found out not so long either before or after, in between that time, is that it's coming out to PS4 as well. Which is mental, I think. Absolutely mental. Crazy times. A lot of people are actually quite annoyed at that, actually. People that are complaining that... I bet any money it's people who already own a PS5. They're complaining about games coming out on PS4 as well. For some reason, that's a problem. It's holding games back. But sure, this isn't the first time that companies have done this. This isn't the first time. If you're wondering about the long silence, I'm actually trying to think of examples where companies made games for 2 generations, but now that I'm thinking about it. No, well, we did. We got Assassin's Creed 4 on both Xbox 360 and Xbox One. Nobody was complaining back then. In terms of exclusives, I don't know. I'm happy that it's coming out on PS4 as well. But, like, people say that it holds back the PS5. In what way does it hold back the PS5? Because they're able to make it in such a way that it runs on PS4, but any bits that run on PS5 will obviously be things that you cannot run on PS4. So I don't know what it is you're looking for in that regard. I really don't. But I'll get to that later on. I've got things about Horizon Forbidden West that I'm going to talk about later, but I'll get to that later. So yeah, God of War delayed into 2022 and is also coming to PlayStation 4. So any PlayStation 4 owners out there who don't have a PS5 and are probably not going to get one for the foreseeable future, there you go. You will get to play the new God of War on your PS4. Like myself. I still have a PS4. I do not have a PS5 yet. I don't know when I'll get a PS5. I was originally planning on getting one Christmas 2020, but it got to the point where by the time January hit, or February hit, I started to lose patience, so I ended up buying other things. And lo and behold, PS5s are still scarce. Christmas 2021 will be interesting, I'll say that much. Anyway, let's get on to what I'm going to consider the main topic of this episode of the GBG podcast, and that is my E3 predictions. Now, I'm not covering everything here, as I already said. I'm only picking out small things that I would like to see at E3, or some of them may be outrageous and not realistic at all. Some of them are quite possible. Now, don't freak out if I miss something. I'm not a journalist, so relax. Now, not only am I going to talk about things that I would like to see, but I'm going to talk about things that are happening as well. So, yeah. So, I'm going to start with Nintendo and the new Nintendo Switch revision. And I predict that it gets an announcement with a trailer showing off all the new features. I also predict that it will not be called the Switch Pro, like everyone else seems to be calling it now, unless Nintendo have confirmed the naming convention of this revision. then I predict that it will not be called the Switch Pro and it will be called the Switch XL or the new Nintendo Switch. That's what I think it will be called, because they won't call it something that has already been used on something else. Nintendo like to do their own thing, so they will not call it the Switch Pro. Now, if they do call it the Switch Pro, then fine, I'm wrong, I'll hold my hand up. But Switch XL or new Nintendo Switch is what I think it will be called. And the technical features I think we should get. Now, if this hasn't been, I don't know if this has been already documented. I haven't got a clue. So I'm going in semi-blind here. Right, so anyway, these are the specs or technical features I think we should get, or I would like to see on the new Switch Pro, quotation marks. 4K 30Hz. There's no way in a million years that thing is going to do 4K 60 frames per second. No chance. No chance. I would hold my hands up and I will eat my words if I'm wrong. But I think it'll do 4K 30Hz or 1440 60Hz on a docked mode. So when you're plugging it into your TV, there's no way in a million years you're going to get 4K resolution with 60 frames per second, because if the PS4 can't do it, you'd be damn bloody sure the Switch will not do it, because Nintendo don't focus on power. They do not focus on power, so we're not going to get that. It'll be 4K 30 or 1440 60Hz for the TV mode. For the handheld mode, I predict 1080p 60Hz or 60 frames per second. It'll have HDR, maybe. The screen will be OLED. Now, I think the original Switch is LCD, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's OLED. I think it should have a better D-pad for the Joy-Con, in which case I think it should ditch the single Joy-Con as a controller. I really do. I think they should ditch the single Joy-Con as a controller, because it's useless. I don't know if anyone actually uses the single Joy-Con, but if they do, if they don't ditch the single Joy-Con, if they keep the single Joy-Con as a controller, which means you kind of need those buttons, I think a detachable D-pad would be handy. Then again, give us a Pro controller as standard, packed with the console, or at least allow it to be a bundle option. I think also during Nintendo's showcase, I think we'll get more Breath of the Wild 2 information. Perhaps I'll look into where it's going to be set. Will it be set in the same variation of Hyrule as Breath of the Wild 1? I personally hope that Breath of the Wild 2 does away with the ridiculous weapon breaking mechanic. Give us proper dungeons to explore instead of variations of the same ones that we saw in the original game. The shrines can still be there, but have them be separate from dungeons. Have shrines solely be about puzzle solving and have dungeons be purely enemy based, or mix it up a bit. Just don't limit it to robots and whatnot. Like, Zelda has a plethora of enemies at their disposal. Use them. I know I'm going to get fucking slandered for saying this as well, but I actually want to see a quest marker. I actually want to see a compass telling me where to go. I understand exploration and unknown encounters are a big thing in Breath of the Wild 1, but at the same time, it's one of many reasons why I never made it to the end. I have, a lot of trouble sticking to games for a long time if I don't know what to do next or have a habit of getting distracted. If they gave us the option to play the game in a sort of assist mode, then I would like that. That's what they could do, actually. Split the gameplay style into two. Original mode and assist mode, where original mode is the same as how we played the first game, with assist mode being go here for each mission, put an arrow on the screen. Sometimes I like the map being filled with objectives. If it's empty and I have to look for it myself, I'll only end up looking up a guide. I always play Breath of the Wild with a guide open for that reason. So I want to be able to play the next one without constantly looking at my phone to see what to do next. I don't want to do that. You know, I want to be able to relax and enjoy the game and not have it be so obtuse, do you know? But I guess that's pretty much the only thing related to Nintendo I'm interested in seeing. You know, I want to see what the new Switch console's going to look like, and I'm only interested in Breath of the Wild 2. But the big thing for me is seeing news of a new console. So I hope we see something like that this year, if it hasn't been shown by the time I post this podcast. And I want to shift from Nintendo to Bethesda. Now, I was going to have this come under the Xbox predictions section since they're now owned by Microsoft, but in terms of Xbox as a platform, I haven't done much digging since I haven't really given my own Xbox much attention, so I haven't bothered to look at anything Xbox related in regards to E3. But for Bethesda, there are a few things I do want to see, or hope to see, if it hasn't been mentioned already. New Fallout. Maybe Fallout 5. Even though I don't think they will. But since Obsidian seem to be focused on Avowed and perhaps might announce the Outer Worlds 2, I think it's up to Bethesda to announce the next mainline Fallout title. I personally don't think we will see a New Vegas 2, even though I'd love one. But just because Obsidian and Bethesda are both owned by Microsoft doesn't mean they'll automatically work together. The only evidence I have of it being possible was when someone asked Obsidian if New Vegas 2 could happen now that they and Bethesda are working for the same parent company. Obsidian responded with an emoji that basically suggests you never know. Maybe it's a project down the line, but for E3 2021, I doubt it. I would definitely like to see Obsidian do another Fallout title, since they got New Vegas down to a T. That game was near perfect, but who knows? Who knows? What about the Elder Scrolls 6? If we don't see Fallout, I wouldn't say no to more details surrounding the next Elder Scrolls game. We got that teaser 3 years ago. 3 years ago. And so far since, there has been nothing. I'm not sure I like trailers of games that basically say, we are working on this. Because anything could happen between then and the game's release. Regardless, they did say they'll work on it after Starfield has had time in the sun first. I mean, a little bit of information would be nice though. Like, just an update. You know, it's not much to ask. Like, it gets a bit tiresome constantly starting Skyrim over and over on a different console every time I'm craving an Elder Scrolls title to play. I think we're due one. It's been 10 years since Skyrim came out. Now, I understand they still support the Elder Scrolls Online, but I reckon that's a separate focus altogether. Speaking of which, Elder Scrolls Online releases on PS5 and Xbox Series S and X on the 8th of June. So that's only a couple of days away from today, or in fact, it's actually tomorrow as I'm speaking now. So if you're into that, then yippee. I'm sorry, I'm not much of an MMO fan anymore, so I couldn't possibly share any enthusiasm for that genre. But going back to the Xbox side of it though, if I was to talk about the Xbox for a moment, if there is one game I would like to see, or I would look forward to seeing, it would be Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite. Okay, that's 2 games, but whatever. I know, cliche, Forza and Halo. But like it or not, those 2 franchises are juggernauts. And rightly so. They're damn fun games. I play Forza Horizon 4 every so often, just as a means to chill out and relax. It's a great game to play while listening to podcasts as well. Now, there is an achievement on Forza Horizon 2, 3 and 4. I'm not sure about 1. And the achievement is basically for driving on basically every inch of road available in the game. And it can take a couple of hours or more depending on how fast you are, but what I like to do when I get a new Forza game, I did this on Forza Horizon 2 and I did it on Forza Horizon 3, and I've recently done it on Forza Horizon 4, where I will get the game, the first time I get the game, and I'll start it. I'll do the first couple of races and all that to unlock more cars for a bit, but there'll be a point where, right, time to get all of this road covered. And I like to get it out of the way as early as possible. And while I do that, I like to turn on Spotify, and like, it can take a couple of hours, like I said, but I just like listening to Spotify and just doing that. It just makes it increasingly enjoyable, and time flies as a result. I digress. This is actually the first time Forza has broken its schedule of releases. We got a Forza game every year since at least 2011, I believe, and it would alternate between Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon, with Forza Motorsport 7 releasing in 2017 and Forza Horizon 4 releasing in 2018. Now, aside from Forza Street, it's been 3 years since we've seen any mainline Forza title, so who knows what will be announced at E3, though I think realistically we might see the new Forza Motorsport installment get its spotlight, since that was the latest installment that was announced, and it's not even going to be called Forza Motorsport 8 anymore. It's going to be called Forza Motorsport, so a soft reboot of the franchise. Who knows what they'll do then. So that's Forza. Now, Halo Infinite. God, feels like we've been waiting on Halo Infinite forever at this stage. I have no idea what they have in store for it, which is why I'm not going to delve too deep into the details. All I know, I think, is that it'll be more open-ended than prior installments. Probably an open world. Who knows? And it'll probably likely come with a battle royale. You can be damn sure this will keep interest in the game high, and also its longevity, if Warzone is anything to go by. Warzone has definitely kept Modern Warfare's longevity going for ages. I mean, that game has... yeah. I knew that would happen anyway. When Modern Warfare came out and they announced a Battle Royale mode, I knew well that that was going to keep the game's popularity high. Even post Black Ops Cold War, nobody's talking about that game as much. They're talking about Warzone. That's what they're playing. Anyway. PlayStation. Now, I understand PlayStation are not doing E3 this year, but surely they'll give us a state of play around the same time, at least in the month of June. Here are what I think we could see from Sony this month. Project Athia, a game that was announced last year, and a game I originally predicted may or may not have been a working title for the next Final Fantasy installment, which is obviously not the case now. It's now called Forspoken. So Forspoken is the name it was given, and was actually announced as that name back in March. I must have missed that. But it's slated to release in 2022, so I'm hoping we get something this year in regards to information about what that game is. We know a couple of details about it, as was mentioned by Games Radar in an article posted the same month the name was revealed, and it says, it's an open world action-adventure game set in a fantasy world filled with snowy peaks, dense forests and monsters that breathe fire. You control an agile young woman called Frey, who's exploring a world not her own. Expect both combat and platforming, and Luminous Production promises it will be story-led. The tale will be filled with beauty and dismay. There is a heavy emphasis on the natural world, with plenty of hints that you'll be both playing with and fighting the elements throughout your journey. Now, my first impression of this is it sounds like it's taken a little bit of inspiration from Horizon Zero Dawn, purely based on those details, with the only exception being the natural world and elements playing a part. Who knows? I'm excited to see what it is nonetheless. And speaking of Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West was recently announced to be coming to both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, which personally shocked me at first. But a few details made sense after I looked more into it, and this is what I was talking about with the God of War coming to PS4. This is a good example of this. Obviously, they're going to cut things from it to make it run on PS4, but I digress, let's get on with it. According to the game's director, Horizon's director, a lot of the development has taken place on the PS4 and a lot of playtesting has been done on PS4, and that the PS5 allows the team to add further detail in the environments. Graphically, the rendering technique for the underwater scenes is special for the PS5. It has extra details and extra systems, like the wave technique is better on that system. The PS5 version will also be able to make use of a cinematic grade lighting system, which has been limited to in-game cinematics in the PS4 version. The lighting on Aloy on PS5 has much more definition, said the director. On the PlayStation 4, because the game is not running in cutscenes, we have processing power in those scenes. But with the PS5, we have plenty of processing power, so we can have that lighting rig always available, so she always looks great with that lighting setup travelling with her anywhere. Now, I also found out that the game is going to have a performance mode, at least on PS5, which will allow it to run in 60 frames per second. Now, whether that will be in full 4K 60 frames, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But with PlayStation, I don't think 4K 60 is that common. Now, I know Xbox can pull it off though. We've already seen a gameplay trailer for Forbidden West, so I doubt we'll see much more of it between now and the end of the month. But we still don't have a release date. It's supposedly coming out this year, but I reckon it'll be delayed. I personally think they'll probably wait and see when Breath of the Wild 2's release date will be, considering when Horizon Zero Dawn was released, Breath of the Wild released around the same time, and both of them ended up quote-unquote competing with each other as a result. If I was the head of Guerrilla Games, I would want to avoid that as much as possible for the next installment. I recently started a New Game Plus playthrough of Zero Dawn a few months ago. It was originally going to be for my Let's Play series, but I fell off of it after a week. I'll go back to it, but I doubt I'll be live streaming it. Sometimes I just like to play my games in peace without worrying about who's watching. I digress. I didn't actually watch the latest trailer for Forbidden West in full. I only saw a couple of clips, including one showing the Golden Gate Bridge, which heavily suggests the game is set around San Francisco, which also makes sense considering the game is called Forbidden West. So yeah, duh. I wonder if they will go outside San Francisco for potential DLC, who knows? I also think I saw a clip of Aloy using a grappling hook, but I could be wrong. I should really go and look at that trailer. In the meantime, I hope we do get a solid release date. Hopefully it's announced during the summer. In regards to anything related to Stadia, PC, or anything else, I haven't looked into much. I'm not going to cover something that I'm not that bothered about. So, not much else I have, prediction-wise. So yeah, I knew that it wasn't going to be that much to talk about for me, because when it comes to E3, I don't pay too much attention. I only look at things that I'm interested in, and I can't be interested in every game. But my biggest interest this year has to be the new Switch console, so hopefully that'll get announced. I'd like to see that, I really would. But I suppose I didn't really come up with any predictions for myself. I've only really spoke about things that are definitely or more likely going to be shown. But if I could pick anything that I would like to see at E3, I mean, like I said, it could be outrageously unlikely, but Grand Theft Auto 6? Why not? Why not? The reason why I don't think it will show up at E3 is because they're knee-deep in Grand Theft Auto Online. Knee-deep in it, like, they are flying with that. Grand Theft Auto Online is their biggest IP. It really is. And I think they're going to wait until at least GTA 5 comes out on PS5 and Xbox Series X. In fact, we might see more of that for E3. We might see more of that. We might see more details about what they're doing with it. So maybe that's what we'll see if it's not GTA 6. Maybe we'll get details of GTA 5, PS5, Xbox Series X with a one more thing from Rockstar and then showing GTA 6. Who knows? Who knows? Will we get an announcement for Bloodborne coming for PS5? Will that get announced? Will it finally get to run in 60 frames per second? I don't know what else. Oh, there is one game that I would like to see. Two games that I would like to see at E3. Now, I don't know who would be in charge of showing this. I don't even know where we would see it. Would it be an indie showcase? I don't know. But there's two particular games that I would like to see. One of them is the announcement, finally, the announcement of Playdead's next title. Now, if you don't know who Playdead are the company that developed and probably published, I'm not sure, but developed at least, Limbo and Inside. And they've been working on a new project for a couple of years now. And so far, the only thing we got out of it was some concept art, maybe a screenshot, who knows. And the screenshot suggested to heavily suggest that it was set in some sort of space location or something. I don't know. But the screenshot or concept art I remember seeing was a picture of someone on a snowy area looking at what looks like a meteor crashing on Earth. And there was another screenshot that I remember seeing, and it was a picture of someone looking at what appears to be a dead satellite. Now, I don't know. It looks like it's going to be very planetary looking. And the screenshots I've been looking at suggests that it's going to be off planet, somewhere else. A different planet altogether. The character appears to be wearing a helmet as well, so God knows. The first time I heard about this game was back in 2018, and we didn't really hear news of it since 2020, I want to say. So who knows how far off we are from seeing this new installment from Playdead, but I hope we get news of it. I hope we get news of it during E3. That would be amazing. And the other game that I hope to see more of, and I've already mentioned it, I mentioned it a few episodes ago, is Flashback 2. I would love to see more details surrounding Flashback 2. Now, God knows how far away they are from making that one. God knows. Like, they said on the 4th of May that it's in production. That means they're probably working on it. Meaning there's probably nothing about the game to show, but it would be nice to see it. I'd like to see something. Flashback is arguably, probably, definitely my favourite game of all time. I've played it so many times over the last 29, 30 years of my life. Love it to death. A sequel, I'm still shocked that they're making a new sequel for that game. I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked that they had the balls to call it Flashback 2. I really am. But, yeah. I wonder what they'll call Playdead's next title. I wonder what they'll call it. Anyway, that's enough about that. I think that's all I've got regards to E3. I think that's all I've got now. I reckon we'll probably see a release date for the next DLC for Streets of Rage 4 if it wasn't already announced. I don't know if it was. But, yeah. Oh, speaking of Streets of Rage 4, how the hell could I forget that? Shit. Shiva was revealed as the new character the latest character for the DLC that's coming out for Streets of Rage 4. I already predicted this prior. I already predicted it, so I'm not surprised, but yeah. I think that's all characters are now revealed for the Mr. X Nightmare DLC that's coming out for Streets of Rage 4. Oh, brilliant. I'm delighted. So, when is it coming out? I think I've got the details here. It says here on Steam that it's coming soon, so there's no planned release date yet. But they've announced Max, Estelle, and Shiva. 3 new playable characters. And I'm not surprised that Shiva was announced. I was expecting that, because I couldn't think of anyone else. If anyone else got in there before Shiva, especially a new character, I think I would be a little bit disappointed, because Shiva's been there since Streets of Rage 2. He deserves to be in this game as a playable character. Barbon. Make Barbon the next playable character for the next DLC if they ever come out with it. Barbon. Oh, man. Right, well, okay, I think I'm done. I'm going to quickly move on to games I've been playing, or should I say, the game I've been playing. Nothing's changed in the last week. I'm still playing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I've finished Mass Effect 2, and I also managed to obtain the Platinum Trophy for it. And I'm now on Mass Effect 3. Something happened on Mass Effect 2 that bugged me, and I think it may have been a glitch. This is semi-spoiler territory, and I say semi-spoiler because the game is so heavily based on the player's decisions and actions, it's not easy to separate it from canon elements in the story itself. But anyway, as you may or may not know, a big but optional feature contains the ability to romance other characters. One of them is a character called Liara, and she's my go-to romance option because it's quite frankly the quickest and easiest. I'm currently going for the trophy tied to all 3 games combined, where you have to establish a relationship or continue a relationship throughout all 3 games. And since I romanced Liara in Mass Effect 1, I wanted to continue that relationship into Mass Effect 2. Only when I finally managed to get to that point, the trophy didn't pop. So I ultimately cheated on Liara with another character for that trophy to pop. So now, in Mass Effect 3, I'm basically having an affair. The trophy will pop one way or another, so long as you do have a romantic relationship with someone in each of the 3 games. But I originally intended to do it with one character. Now I'm smashing 2. But I think the so-called glitch could have been that, because in Mass Effect 2 you don't really see much of Liara until you play the DLC called the Shadow Broker DLC. And because I established my relationship because of Liara being on that DLC, maybe it clashed with the game giving me the trophy. I don't know. Maybe the combination of the trophies. See, there's 4 sets of trophies for the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect. There's Mass Effect 1 trophies, Mass Effect 2 trophies, and Mass Effect 3 trophies. All 3 games have their own set of trophies containing each a platinum. And then there's a set of trophies that are combined with all 3 games. It doesn't have a platinum, but it's an incentive to play all 3 games a certain way as well. But one of them is to establish a relationship in all 3 games. Now, I think that set of trophies for the trilogy isn't really recognising DLC for the romance option, which is why I think maybe it didn't pop. But I'm not the only person it didn't work for. But at least I was able to establish a relationship with someone else, so it still works. But if you want to continue a relationship with one character, it might be tricky, unless you're femshep and you want to romance someone else. I don't know. I only ever really play as male shep. I don't know why, I just always have. Anyway, if I could complain about anything in the trilogy as a whole. It would be the fact that I cannot pause or skip any cutscenes. It's somewhat compensated by the fact that cutscenes are not that long to begin with, but it's still a crazy oversight. I mean, the only way I can truly pause the entire game, cutscenes and playtime included, is by going to the PlayStation 4's home screen. I don't know how it works for Xbox, but going to the PlayStation 4's home screen just cuts the game into a pause state and doesn't, even when you're watching a cutscene. If you're watching a cutscene and you go into the home screen and you go away for an hour and you come back and you go back into the game from the home screen, so long as the game is still open, it continues exactly where you left off. And that's what I like about the PlayStation 4. It's really, really handy. But I found myself doing that a lot whenever I had to leave the game for any reason. Obviously saving first, of course, if it's not a cutscene, just in case of any crashes. Which only happened during one mission on Mass Effect 3. And it seems to be a common complaint as well, this particular crash, as other people have reported the game crashing at the same part. Another complaint I had, more aimed at Mass Effect 3, is that there are missable side quests. And that's fine, I suppose. I don't mind that as a whole. But my issue is that Mass Effect 3, the game will not tell you the side quest has failed. It'll sit there on the mission summary as an active/open quest and cannot be removed. Now, I'm not planning on completing every single mission on Mass Effect 3, so I'm not that bothered that I've missed any quests. I just wish that the game would say the quest is failed. Like, just put it in red or something and put it down at the bottom and say, failed incomplete quests. And move it away from the open mission summary. Because it's no longer an active mission, as it cannot be completed. That's really it, I suppose. That's all the complaints I have. I'm hoping to have Mass Effect 3 beaten within the next week or so. I've had a long weekend to be able to get most of it done, because it's a bank holiday weekend, so I've had more time to play this. And most of it, or, well, so far, I've done a lot, I think, but I hope to get most of it done. And so far, Mass Effect 3 is the best from a gameplay perspective. One of the best mechanics they could have thrown in was infinite sprint. It makes traversing the environment much quicker. And the gloves are off with this one. It's a full-on action game with an emphasis on RPG. Not a bad thing at all. In fact, it suits me down to the ground. I love the combat in Mass Effect 3. I have an idea of what I'm going to move on to next after I beat Mass Effect. And I originally thought about starting Mass Effect Andromeda, but I honestly do not know if... I don't know if I want to anymore. I'm enjoying the Shepard storyline a lot, and I'm already aware Andromeda has almost nothing to do with the events of the original trilogy, since it's set on an entirely different galaxy and features completely different characters. I'm not that interested. So I've been sitting on Gears 5 on Xbox for about a year at this point, and I'm halfway through Act 1, and I've been on Act 1 for a few months now. So I have been sitting on it for a while, and I might go back to it and plough through that game after I beat Mass Effect 3. Any excuse to turn on the Xbox One, I suppose, really. I barely use it anymore. But it runs good. I did play it for a brief moment just to see how it looked on the new television, and it's stunning. It's one of the few games that I've played on Xbox where it runs at a full 4K 60 frames per second, and it looks amazing. It looks amazing. But yeah, I think I've covered just about it. I'm just going through all my notes now. I think I've done everything I needed to do here for this episode, so yep. So if any pieces of news come out later on today, I probably missed it because at the time of this recording it hasn't came out yet. It's 5:45 in the afternoon. So if anything comes out after that, I'll probably talk about it on the next episode. But with that said, that's just about it. So thanks very much for taking the time to listen/watch this podcast. And if you enjoyed it and you want to see or hear more, you can always find me on Spotify if it's just the podcast you're listening to. And if it's just the podcast you're interested in, you can find me on Spotify. What you want to look for is GB Gaming or GB Gaming Podcast. It should show up. But if you want to see more than just the podcast, I've got a plethora of video content available on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/gamerboy, that's GAMERBHOY, that's my main YouTube channel. That's where I started doing all of this. And I do game reviews, old and new. I do Let's Plays every now and then. There's other things that I do as well. So if you want to see all of that, you can go and visit that page. And if you liked any of the stuff that you see on that page, you can like, share, subscribe, all that jargon. I'm not going to force it on you though. That's up to you. If you like it, you know what to do. I'm assuming you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. But with that said, thanks once again for taking the time to listen to this. And this has been Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. And yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you whenever I see you. Stay safe, and goodbye. Oh, before I go, I already said that I got my vaccine, or I was getting my vaccine. I got it. No side effects, nothing. I was perfectly fine after it. So that's a relief. I'm due to get the next one in 2 or 3 weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And then 7 days after that, I can say, fuck you, COVID. Fuck you. Anyway, with that said, thanks very much. I'll see you whenever I see you. Cheerio, goodbye, and stay safe. Love yous all.